Hey there, thanks for being here. Today I'm going to take you on a long time coming garden tour. And I waited for the perfect moment for this, and the perfect moment never came because after a freakishly cold month of May, it rained for the entire month of June. I really don't remember the last day we had sunshine. I had a horrible cold, I lost my voice, so if I sound a little different, that's why. But this is real life, so we're gonna just go with it and film it all in one go. And even if I didn't work in this garden for about 2 or 3 weeks, and you can see lots of weeds around here, you'll still see that we have a huge abundance of vegetables, and everything is so nicely grown and beautiful that I think you'll learn a lot from our tiny little garden. So without further ado, let's go in. So right as we go in, but wait, I forgot to tell you, this is not news for me anymore, so that's why I forgot. But we finally fenced our garden. Yay! I'm so proud of this. We did this mainly for aesthetic reasons, but also because we wanted our vine to have a place to grow up and shade the rest of our lawn. So yeah, let's go in. On the left hand side, we have the most beautiful damask rose, also known as Castile rose, which is mainly used for perfumes, and I cannot begin to describe how this thing smells. I mean, really, it's beyond words. The petals are also edible. You can use them inside desserts. And we've been very lazy, and we haven't been using this properly because we could store it and turn it into a jam and all that, but so far we've just been smelling it, and that's been okay too. Yeah, okay. So next up, another novelty to this garden is our new makeshift tiny raised bed out of a wheelbarrow. Have my husband to thank for this. And I put some sweet potatoes in here. And I'm very curious if they'll produce anything until the winter comes, because we live in a very cold area and they need a lot of heat. They're a warm weather crop. So we have sweet potatoes here and nasturtiums over here. We're gonna come back to the berry section later, so we're just gonna start with the vegetables. I don't know if you remember, I had a video on weeding last month, and the potatoes were so small and they just doubled in size. They're almost ready for harvest. I'm gonna give them another couple of weeks or so, because these are first early and second early potatoes. So we haven't eaten any yet, but when we do, we'll let you know, because they're usually delicious. Next up, over here in this bed, we've had radishes, which we ate, obviously, and then we pulled them and replaced them with these peppers, 3 varieties of peppers in 3 rows, which I've started in mid-February. And in between peppers, because I didn't want to waste all this space, I planted celery and also some herbs like basil and thyme variety over here, and some marigolds. So this section is really gonna thrive in a month or so. Hopefully we're gonna have some sun for the peppers to thrive and really grow, because I'm gonna show you, actually let me show you right now so we can still be talking about peppers. I have a pepper section over here. So see, these guys, I did a little experiment, and I didn't pinch the flowers off. See, if you pinch the flowers, you promote more foliage growth and the plant gets taller. But if you don't, and I've had these flowers for months now, they will turn into peppers, but the plant will remain really stunted and tiny. But I just wanted to try, because it broke my heart to rip all those pepper plant flowers off. So let's get back to that bed. This is gonna be a really weird video with me running around, but let's just go with it. Okay, so over here next to the peppers, we have a lot of dill. This is the first dill that we planted. It's going to flower, and soon I'm going to have to harvest it and put it in the freezer. And we have a second batch of dill here. This one is much younger, and hopefully it's gonna last us through the summer months. Also, we have some kale, two kinds of kale, red scarlet, I don't even know the name of this one, and this one is Nero, cavolo di Nero, or Nero kale or something like that, or dinosaur kale. And you're going to see that most of my beds, especially the ones around here, are going to be so crazy because we had one crop, like a cool weather crop, and then I thought that it would finish and we would eat it and pick it and replace it with the second crop, but no, not really. They're both going strong because the cool weather crop, since it was so cold, it's really late and nothing is really ready to pick yet. Over here, we've had some onions and more radishes, which we picked, and I planted 3 cherry tomatoes. I'm going to grow all my tomatoes in a single stem fashion on this bamboo stick. I hope it's sturdy enough and holds it. And I don't know if you've seen that video, but I've visited a grandma of a friend of mine, and she taught me all there is to know about pruning tomatoes. And ever since learning about suckers and all that, I've been very passionate in coming here every couple of days and taking suckers off and tying my tomatoes. So I've been very diligent this year. And we also have a few cherry tomatoes over here. Also more celery, more marigolds, and we don't have a mesh here yet, but we are soon going to have one because we have these lovely 2 squashes, winter squashes. They're called pink bananas, and they produce these massive pinkish oval squashes that I can't wait to taste this summer. And I'm going to train them all the way up on these very sturdy wooden posts, which look kind of weird without anything on them, but soon enough I hope it's going to turn into a wall of green around here. Okay, and now we have arrived to the most complicated bed of this garden. So over here we have some kohlrabi, which I'm going to pull for you because it's really adorable, and we're gonna eat it today, I think. This is called Delicatesse Blauer, and it's a purple kohlrabi. It's really delicious, has a nutty flavor. And the thing is, this kohlrabi has been through hell. I mean, it's been snowed on, it's been frozen, it's been under a foot of snow, it's been through transplant shock. I'm gonna put some footage in there so you can see all the things this kohlrabi has suffered. And finally we come to eat it, but kohlrabi should have been done by now, so it's really not all of it is ready for picking yet. And my tomatoes were getting really big, so my plan was to interplant them in between the kohlrabi plants, but that wasn't such a good plan after all for this bed to be my tomato bed, because I didn't want to sacrifice the cool weather crops since they weren't done yet, but I also didn't want to miss out on having tomatoes. So if you come over here, I can show you that after all this rain, weeks and weeks of rain, and after all the shade and lack of airflow because of this kohlrabi, my tomatoes, some of them are getting kind of yellow. So it wasn't my best choice, but the top growth is green and healthy, and I'm hoping that they will recover. Otherwise, I'm just gonna pull everything out. And the way we eat kohlrabi is really fun. So we eat the flesh, of course, but then we also blanch the leaves, and then we fill them with stuffing and roll them and turn them into these faux cabbage rolls. They're actually kohlrabi rolls, and they're delicious. So yeah, looking forward to doing that. Okay, so more tomatoes. I have a total of about 18 tomatoes here, and it's very crowded, as you can see, but eventually we will pick all these bunching onions, because we've had a million bunching onions this year, because last year we didn't have a lot, so this year we went a little crazy, as you can see. But we eat onions every single day, so yeah. And in between onions we have some carrots. I have had very poor success with carrots this year. Let me see if I can find a big one for you. Nope, see? Some of them, they grow really short, other ones get forked, and about 70% didn't germinate at all. See what I'm talking about? I'm very disappointed. Last year was a glorious, glorious harvest of carrots, but this year not so much. Finally, something that makes my heart very happy. We are big beets fans, so we love beetroot. We eat it raw, we bake it in the oven, and it just helps us stay regular, if you know what I mean. And last year we've had aphids on our beans, and they were next to our beets, and they totally destroyed our young beets. I took every single leaf last year and pressure washed it with water, so it was so stressing. And now these are genuinely the healthiest beets I have ever seen, and I can show you some. If you come over here, I can show you some big ones. It's kind of early for them. I usually pick them in July. So this is a nice one. These are multi-sown beets. They are sown in clumps, and when you pick one, you leave the other ones to keep developing. So this is one beet, and they grow 3 times this size, so this is not finished. Yeah. Next we have carrots. My intention with this bed was to make it half filled with carrots, but that didn't really work out because, as I said, I didn't have success with the germination, and I'm going to explain to you why that is. So last year I put these planks of wood on every single row so that I could have the humidity and darkness to have carrots germinate, and this year I was just lazy. I was like, no, it's wet, it's raining all the time, I don't need to do that, so no germination. So in July, when I'm going to have to sow carrots for my fall crop, I'm definitely going to do that and water them twice a day, and I don't know, do anything for them, because how can you not have carrots? So in these blank spots, I'm going to show you, I've filled everything in this garden, so there are no more blank spots left in this garden. We have some lettuce. This is Lolo Rosa, and this is Merveille de Quatre Saisons, or something like that, a French name. And more celery, and also onions. Are you surprised? At this point, you really shouldn't be surprised. And this squash, this is our favorite squash. It's called Delicata, and it's small, has these green ribes when it grows as fruit, and we love to eat it sliced in the oven. And this one is a nasturtium that I can't wait to see how it grows and flowers all the way up this trellis. Okay, shall we go to the last bed? We've already been here, but courtesy of my lovely husband, who's also filming this, this bed was a fiasco at first. It's new, it's built this year, and we filled it with commercially bought compost, and nothing grew. So we put some seedlings in there, and for weeks and weeks and weeks nothing grew. They were like stuck in time. They didn't die, but they didn't grow. So we took everything out and we replaced everything with aged cow manure from this old man that we found online. Thanks. And as you can see, if you can come closer, we have some cherry tomatoes over here that are absolutely thriving in this type of soil. So keep in mind that this is 70% cow manure and 30% sand. And I've read on multiple forums that cow manure makes tomatoes only grow leaves and not grow fruit because it's very rich in nitrogen. So I was kind of scared to put all my tomatoes in here because I didn't want to miss out on a harvest. But apparently they are actually doing a lot better than the ones over there. And the peppers, as you can see, are setting fruit, and there's nothing really wrong with any plants over here. And I've left this empty patch, which by the way is covered in weeds because, well, compost has weeds too, especially if it's been sitting in a field for years and years. And over here I'm going to try, I don't know, this is my first time, but I'm going to try and plant a tiny patch of corn and see how it goes, and maybe interplant some beans in between. And over here we have a butternut squash, more nasturtiums, our first nasturtium flower. And yeah, that's pretty much for this bed. And over here, our brand new bed, it was built today, not by itself, thanks honey. This bed is destined in the future probably for flowers and herbs, and who knows what I'll decide to put in there. But we're going to put some beans in here and build a teepee, a round teepee out of bamboo posts like this one. I love how it looks, really rustic and nice, and can't wait to put some plants in there because I also have some seedlings left to show you, but I'm gonna save that for the very end. Okay, half of the garden is done. Stay with me, okay? So next we have some garlic. This garlic has been planted at the end of February, and then you can, you know, some people plant garlic in the winter time, like in November or October, and let it overwinter. But I can definitely say that this garlic has been overwintered because we've had so much snow. It's like we had two winters this season. So basically what I did with this garlic, I had this idea of interplanting salads and radishes in between, but it's getting kind of too hot for radishes and they're bolting, so I'm going to pull them out. Although we still get some radishes. And also I feel like it's too crowded, so I may have made a mistake by planting them in this way. The lettuce is a loose leaf lettuce that I plan to cut, so it's going to be a cut and come again method. And the rest is mustard, wasabina mustard, and curled endives, and some arugula. So let me just pull garlic out of the ground. Oh, and a butternut squash, I forgot about this one. The reason for planting squashes like this at the edge, my intention with this was getting them to trail on this path right here so that they don't occupy any bed space. In this section here, I am going to pull everything out of here and all the way over there, because on this trellis is going to be our main cucumber harvest, so I'm going to need the space. But just to show you, I'm going to pull garlic out now. So far, it still has one more month to go, and it's not gigantic. This one is called Transylvanian softneck garlic, but so far, I'd say it's pretty good. And pretty delicious. Can you confirm it? Yes. Okay. Over here, we have onions that are meant to be stored, so onions for storage. And I'm going to let them swell until they tell me that they're ready for harvest. Some of them have been sown from seed, and others have been sown from sets because I haven't had much success with seeds this year. And in between, I have interplanted this lovely little gem salad. It's actually a romaine salad, and I love the core of it, the middle of it. It's so delicious and crunchy. And every time we need salads, we just pull an entire salad from over here. And speaking of salads, let me show you the most glorious salad bed ever. And let me pull this weed before you come here. Okay, so last year, I don't know, maybe because it was kind of too hot, but if I remember correctly, and you correct me on this, I don't think we've had salads past June. So like in July, there were no more salads. But these, I have sown them and planted them months ago, these very plants, and they look like new. And we just keep picking them. These are Lolo Rosa and Lolo Bionda. They're a variety that was recommended by Charles Dowding, and I'm very grateful for that. And we just pick and pick and pick the bottom leaves. Every single day we have salads. And they just regenerate endlessly. It's like nothing ever happened to them. These guys are called Great Lakes, and they are meant to form heads like a cabbage. But we haven't really let them do that because we kept picking them from the side. But eventually we're going to pick the head. And we have some more over here. But I thought I would have to make 3 or 4 sowings of lettuce, and that just wasn't the case. I really didn't believe that a lettuce plant could live for nearly 3 months. I find that incredible, to eat from the same plant over and over and over again. So over here, I've planted a row of peas, tall telephone peas, alderman, I believe they're called. These are the greatest peas of all time. Let me show you the other peas just by comparison. So over here was my main patch of peas. These are short, they're not supposed to climb, but I thought that this was going to give me my main harvest. But surprisingly, they're not very productive, and they just have like these tiny pods. These are American Wonder, and I'm really not wondering when I'm picking them. So these are the peas. They're kind of fibrous at this point. And another variety called Veda. These are a little better, but I'm not impressed after having the experience of alderman peas, which are the absolute best in my book. So these are the Veda peas. These are a lot sweeter than American Wonder peas. Okay, and let me take you to those guys over there. I literally only had like 20 seeds left. So like 20 seeds in a little packet. They were 2 years old. I didn't think they would germinate, but I just said, what the heck, I'm just gonna do it. And this space was supposed to be for my cucumbers, but the peas all germinated and I decided to plant them. And let me just show you, let's go out here in the back because it's really exciting. So let me just show you the size of these pods, like compared to these guys, right? See? And they swell because this one is not done yet. In fact, most of them aren't done yet. Maybe this one. So they swell and they turn into these massive, massive peas that are so sweet and delicious. So if you had any doubts, then this is the proof for you, right? Aren't they adorable? If you want to eat them, babe. Okay. So what else? Yeah, the broad beans. If we're still on the peas section, let's also talk about broad beans. So these broad beans, they were, along with the garlic, were the second crop to go in my garden because it's my first time growing them, and I heard that they are very frost resistant, cold resistant, and all that. And they are, because they have been snowed on and frozen and rained on, and they've had aphids, tons and tons of aphids. We have sprayed them with neem oil, and I have picked the tops off. So when you have aphids, they love to stay on this top, and the way to prevent aphids is to break the top off but only do that when the plants are already this tall. So don't do it when they're really small, because otherwise it just won't grow. So after breaking most of the tops off and spraying them with neem oil, I can safely say that we are finally aphid free, and we finally have broad beans forming everywhere. So everywhere where we've had flowers like these ones, we're gonna have tons and tons and tons of pods of broad beans, also known as fava beans, and I can't wait to eat them. In fact, I'm so curious to look inside, because I didn't do it until this very video, just to see at this stage. See, they're squishy. That means that the beans are really small, but I just want to see their shape and how they look like. They don't even have a string in here. Oh, okay. Look, so fluffy inside. Want to have one? No? Okay, let me try one. Interesting. I think they work better when they're cooked. Okay, well, I've satisfied my curiosity now. Next, we have some sorrel, which is really sour. And it's a perennial. I wanted to have a perennial in here to make my stews and food more sour. And I've planted 12 eggplants, 6 tall ones. I put this pole in. I really don't know if they're gonna grow this tall, but we're gonna see. I just put it just in case. And 6 tiny ones. And let me show you, they're not doing very well. They're really yellowing. They have yellow leaves. I think because of the transplant shock, but also because it's been watering non-stop. And these crops, they love sun. They haven't had any sun. Hopefully starting with next week, summer is really gonna come to us. But until then, I don't know what to say. They don't like this rain. And we have these long eggplant fruits forming in here. They're going to be long and black. If you want to come close, I can show you. Okay. And a very short one in here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's so pretty. So this one is supposed to produce like an egg-shaped eggplant variety, and they're both Italian varieties. More bunching onions. I'm not even going to go there. This lovely thyme that we've been putting in our food all June long. Hot peppers, about 3 or 4 varieties of hot peppers, including cayenne, habanero, black Hungarian, and red cayenne, I think. Okay. And lastly, we have finally arrived. See, I told you this is a small garden, but a tour takes me an hour because I've crammed so much food in here. So this entire section over here, this U-shaped huge bed, and that bed, that long bed over there, those are both supposed to be our berry section because I planted a lot of berries. Over here, it's a variety of berries and other herbs, like this huge lovage plant that is so tall and setting seed, and I'm probably gonna have to cut it back to the ground because I don't want to have volunteer lovage plants next year everywhere. But as you can see, this vigorous plant is just crazy. This one has been native, so when we moved here, it was already here. So it must be really old. That's why it has this strength. But let's start with the berries. So we have some blackberries over here, and actually currants, black currants, red currants, gooseberries. Now these gooseberries, they're particularly sneaky, and they are so annoying because they've been like this for a month and they're not ready yet. They're just laughing at us. Every day we come into the garden, taste a gooseberry, our mouth turns into, I don't know, they're just really sour. So every day we go pick one and We're like, are they ready yet? They're not ready yet. They're taunting us, I'm telling you. Okay, next up we have some mint here, chocolate mint that my mom brought from Austria. And because we had all this space and we didn't want weeds to grow, but they still do, as you can see, we added wood chips and it looks so much better, keeps the moisture in. And I added some flowers in here, like marigolds, a delphinium, actually 3 of them, some sunflowers over here, and zinnias out in the back. Now over there in the back we have Canadian blueberry. I never heard of this before, and it's a huge tree, but we bought it as a huge tree and just dug a hole and transplanted it in here, and it already had fruits, so I can't wait to taste them and see what they're like. We have a blackberry here. Most of them, they're 1 or 2 years old. This one is 2 years old. I planted it when we first moved here. And then we have a tiny loganberry planted 2 years ago, and this year it decided to set some fruit for us. Thank you, tiny loganberry. Okay, and instead of flowers, this bed is going to be all vegetables on the side. So I planted a lot of lettuce, because you can never have enough lettuce and bunching onions, right? Over here, more black currants, rose currants, more gooseberry, and more gooseberry. And lastly, we have 3 zucchinis, because last year we've had 6 zucchinis and we were drowning in zucchinis. So guys, moral of the story here is don't plant too many zucchinis because they will come for you. They will grow arms and legs and run you around the yard and say, pick me, eat me, and you won't be able to because there's too many of them. So we only grew 3 or 4 for the entire family and friends who are coming over here. And this bed, it looks kind of messy. It's a raspberry bed, and it looks messy because of all the growth that's been shooting up. I don't even know if it's just 1 plant or actually 2 plants sending all this growth. I am guessing that this more vigorous plant is the one that is doing all this. And all this new growth doesn't set fruit this year, but it's going to set fruit next year, which is going to be great for raspberries. I have about 12 varieties of raspberries in this bed. Some of them are doing great, like these 2 guys over here. And some of them, like this one, are just beginning. So this one is like an autumn variety. I have an orange variety, and I'm just hoping to remember them all. More sweet potatoes in side buckets. We'll see how that goes. And more flowers and zinnias. And getting back to where we started, let me show you the very last bed, one that we are eating from every single day in our breakfast bowl, our strawberry bed that is also the place where our vine grows up this trellis. So this vine, if you can come closer and I'll show you. This vine has a funny story, first of all. This vine, when we moved here, our friends, they helped us mow the lawn because this place was a jungle. So this friend of my husband's who had never gardened in his life just took the thing, you know, the mower, and mowed everything, including this, I don't know, 50-year-old vine. And we were so upset. We thought he maybe ruined it and it would never grow again. And last year it grew somewhat, and this year it really started to shoot up. But if you look here at this trunk at the base, this one it's really old grapevine. And I am so happy that it recovered. And this year, finally, for the very first time, we are going to have our first grapes. See, are they cute? And also last year I planted all these strawberries. They expanded, took over this bed, and now we have strawberries every single morning. But we've had some really weird pests on our strawberries. I don't know if I can see any yet. Something like a worm, but it's something like these crawly things. They're not worms that come from within, so they don't come from inside the strawberry, but rather they have legs like myriapods, and they just eat from outside the strawberry in. Yeah. You want some? But I'm not finished, because whenever the garden's full like this, it's full because I keep it full, because I keep adding stuff to it. So right now we have a lot of cucumbers, a lot of beans, and a lot of corn. They're waiting to go in, and I'm just gonna take you there in 1 second. I can't. Can I? Yes. Let's go. Okay, here we are. On this side of the house, we are keeping the beans, the corn, the cucumbers, and the melons, and also some leeks we have here. We are keeping them all outside for hardening off. I grew all these plants indoors underneath lights. You're probably familiar with my grow light setup. If you're not, I'm gonna link a video in the description box. But I'm waiting. She's eating my corn. Hey girl, don't eat my corn. We've had a slug invasion, and I've lost half my beans, and now my dog is eating my corn. So yeah, and it's raining all the time, so it's not a good time for gardening. But at least I have a fence to keep my dog away. Anyway, yeah, enough of that for you. So we have two types of cucumbers here. You know, cucumbers are not supposed to do very well with transplanting, so you're supposed to sow them in the ground. But I've had such a poor experience with direct sowing that I decided to transplant most of my plants. So like 80% of the things that you see in my garden have been transplanted from inside the house, and it's been a massive success. And we have these melons. I have never grown melons, and it's almost funny to grow melons in this part of the country because it's so cold. But just out of curiosity, I'm going to put 2 melons in the ground and see if they grow. Just wish me luck. And lastly, on that teepee over there that we're going to build on the round bed, we are going to grow some runner beans that you see over here. And in that square that was left by the tomatoes, the empty space, we're gonna grow some corn. Not all this corn, obviously. I went a little crazy, just a few of them. And the leeks, I don't know if I grew them correctly like this. They're really old. They've been here for months and months. I'm going to take them out. So like take 2 or 3 out and relocate them as a multi-sown in the beds where potatoes are going to be harvested from. So first we have potatoes, and then in July we have leeks, and then we harvest these leeks in the autumn. So yeah, that's about it. Hope you enjoyed my very, very long, probably boring for some of you video, but I wanted to document this just for fun and see how our garden was in 2021 after a crazy year, after a very cold spring, a very long winter, and very, very depressing summer. So yeah, that was all from my side. Happy gardening, everyone. My name is Adriana. I garden in Transylvania, Romania. Please follow me, subscribe to my channel, and support me on my journey. Bye.